The Death Tunnel, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. High on a windswept hill in Louisville, Kentucky, stands one of America's most notorious abandoned buildings, a 5-story Gothic structure that locals call the most haunted place on Earth. This is Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and its story is one of desperate hope, unspeakable suffering, and thousands of deaths. The White Plague. In the early 20th century, Louisville had one of the highest tuberculosis death rates in the United States. The White Plague, as it was called, swept through the Ohio Valley like a reaper. In 1910, Waverly Hills opened as a modest 2-story facility to accommodate 40-50 tuberculosis patients, Wikipedia. But the disease was merciless. By 1924, the epidemic had spiraled out of control. 3 additional floors were built on top of the original structure, allowing the facility to house 400 more patients, the Little House of Horrors. The massive hospital became a self-contained world, complete with its own gardens, water treatment plant, post office, and even zip code. No one left. The disease was too contagious. Families said goodbye at the gates, knowing they might never see their loved ones again. Without modern antibiotics, doctors at Waverly Hills resorted to desperate measures. Patients were placed outside with their beds to absorb fresh air and sunlight, even in the midst of winter, with some literally covered in snow, the Little House of Horrors. When that didn't work, they tried experimental treatments, inserting balloons inside diseased lungs to stretch them, removing ribs to allow lungs to collapse and rest, and exposing patients to ultraviolet light. Electroshock therapy was widely used for various ailments, considered highly effective in those days' American hauntings. The treatments were as brutal as the disease itself. The most chilling feature of Waverly Hills wasn't visible from the patient rooms. A steep 525-foot tunnel, called the Death Tunnel or Body Chute, stretched from the first floor down Waverly Hill, equipped with a railcar system. U.S. Ghost Adventures. According to stories, the tunnel served to transport corpses to a waiting ambulance at the bottom of the hill during the 1920s-1940s, sparing patients the knowledge that someone had died. Wikipedia. The exact death toll is uncertain, with some claiming 68,000 deaths, while historians believe the real number is closer to 8,000. U.S. Ghost Adventures. Either way, the tunnel saw a constant procession of the dead, wheeled down in darkness, while the living above tried desperately to believe they might recover. Of all the rooms in Waverly Hills, one holds a special terror. In 1928, a nurse named Mary Hillenberg entered room 502 and hung herself from the ceiling light, believed to have taken her life because of a pregnancy from one of the male doctors. U.S. Ghost Adventures. Another version suggests a botched abortion led to her death, staged as suicide. In 1932, another nurse jumped to her death from the same room's window, and years later, a homeless man was murdered in this room by a drug gang, the Little House of Horrors. Visitors often hear the words "Get out" when they try to enter room 502, the Little House of Horrors. The hospital closed in 1961 due to the success of the antibiotic streptomycin. Wikipedia. But its torment wasn't over. The building reopened as Woodhaven Geriatric Center in 1962. Budget cuts in the 1960s and 1970s led to horrible conditions and patient mistreatment, and the facility closed for good in 1982. American Hauntings. For nearly 2 decades, Waverly Hills was left to decay, a massive hollow shell that became a magnet for teenagers seeking thrills and homeless people seeking shelter. Today, Waverly Hills is owned privately and operates as a historical site with tours and Halloween attractions. But the stories persist. Paranormal investigators report activity throughout the building, including a child spirit named Timmy, who plays with balls on the roof where he fell to his death. U.S. Ghost Adventures. Shadow figures prowl the corridors. Disembodied screams echo from empty rooms. One witness described working inside the electroshock therapy room when an old-time clear light bulb started to glow, despite the building having no electricity. PBS. The workers fled in terror. The Death Tunnel remains one of the most active paranormal locations, its darkness still heavy with the memory of thousands of bodies making their final journey down that long, steep slope. Waverly Hills stands as a monument to an era when medicine was as terrifying as the diseases it fought, a place where hope went to die, and where some say the dead never truly left.